Welcome back to the Linux Academy Nginx Deep Dive. As we start digging into the reverse proxy section of this course, we're going to cover how we can proxy traffic over HTTP using Proxy Pass and the kind of whole suite of directives that we get from that, which is kind of the standard way of creating reverse proxies using Nginx. And then we're going to spend a couple videos also talking about the alternative types of protocols that Nginx can speak, specifically FastCGI to something like a PHP server and uWSGI to a Python application. And all of these videos are going to look very similar as we go through them, and each one is going to have a companion video where we have to go and we have to set up the software stack. So this is not a course about deploying web applications, but we have to do that in order to actually continue on with this. So for this video, we are going to deploy an example Node.js application that is part of the Cloud Assessments GitHub called S3 Photo App. And this one is interesting because it is 3 separate web applications that all kind of talk to each other to handle uploading some photos and doing some photo manipulation and pulling things in from S3. So this is a Node.js application, like I said. So we're going to go through covering the setup of Node.js, pulling in and setting up the actual projects and getting them running using systemd. And then we have to go and create an S3 user so that we can interact with S3 and also with DynamoDB, which it's going to be using. So this is not an Nginx specific video right here. We just have to go through and do a little bit of this background work before we can actually go and proxy to an application. The first thing that we're going to do is actually set up Nginx. So I have a link down in the description on how to install Nginx on Enterprise Linux and Fedora. So this is CentOS for us. And specifically, we're going to install the version 8, which is their most recent LTS, and we can actually just copy this entire line here. And then from our lab server, we can paste that in. It looks like it got rid of my C. And now we can yum install Node.js. With Node.js installed, we're now ready to pull in the source code. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to make a new directory. It's going to be an srv www. So this is where we're going to put our web application code. I like to put var www will be where we put kind of static content, and then we'll put the dynamic content into this particular directory. We will cd into /srv www. And then here we need to do a git clone. So we'll come back over to the repo here and grab this URL. We're going to git clone. And now we can cd into this directory. Thankfully, this repository has a makefile that has an install command in there, so we can run make install, and that will actually go through and get things set up for us. All of our Node.js dependencies have been installed, but we're not quite ready to continue on. The first thing we need to do is come over to the AWS console. If you don't already have an account, you can sign up and get a free one. And we're going to be working with S3 and DynamoDB, but we don't actually need to manipulate them ourselves. Instead, what we're going to do is we're going to go into the Identity and Access Manager. And from here, we're going to create a new user. So I'm going to add a user. I'm going to call it S3 Photos, and then this is going to take programmatic access. And now we get to figure out what we actually want to have it be able to do. And for that, we're going to give it S3 full access. And if you know more about AWS and S3, then you can go ahead and not use such broad strokes as I'm doing right now. And we're also going to give it access to DynamoDB full access. And we'll come down to the bottom, go to review. These are the only 2 things that we need. We want to create the user. Now, the things that we need are going to be the access key ID and the secret access key. So this one I'm going to select and copy. And we're actually going to use these inside of our service files. So I'm going to open up a new file in etc systemd system photo storage .service. This is one of the 3 applications and one of the 2 that needs access to this. And then we're going to write this. It's going to have a unit, which the description here going to be photo storage Node.js service. And then this just needs network access. So we'll request the network target. And then the service itself, we need to define a few things. So we want this to restart always. And then it's going to use the user of nobody and the group of nobody. And then we're going to set some environment variables. And this is where our access key ID and our secret access key come into play. But the first thing we're going to set is going to be the node environment, and that's going to be production. And then we'll have another environment line that's going to be AWS access key ID, and that's going to be the actual access key that we just copied. And then we'll have another one. It's going to be the access secret, or AWS secret access key. And then this will be the other one that we didn't quite grab yet. So we copy that, come back over and paste that in. With all of those there, we need to give the command that it's going to take. So it's going to be an exec start. This will be bin node. And then it's going to go to srv www s3 photo apps photo storage server.js. And then we set up this install. And this was quite a lot of typing just to get this thing set up, but thankfully they're all pretty much the same in terms of their requirements, and we'll just be able to copy this file and make a few modifications to it for the rest of our services. So we save this, and we will copy etc systemd system photo storage. We'll come back and we'll change storage to filter using a little bit of shell expansion here. And while we're at it, we will copy photo storage itself and make that entire thing the web client. So web-client. And now we have those two files to go and edit. So we'll start with the filter. The big differences here are we want to change the words storage to filter. So I'm just going to select all of this and do a find and replace on storage with filter. And then we also don't need the AWS access credentials. That's all the modifications we need to make to this. So we will save this one and quit. And then if we open our web client, in here, we need to change photo storage to web client. And then additionally, in our exec start line down here, we get rid of the bin node, and there's instead a prepackaged binary inside of web client in web client bin www. So we will save this file. And now the last thing we want to do is use systemctl to start photo storage. Oh, that does actually remind me. Let's go into systemd system web client. And we can, in the after section here, we can also set a dependency on photo filter target and photo storage target, because the web client itself, so the front end application, is actually not that useful without the other two there. So we will add those in and save. Then we can come back and we can systemctl enable photo storage. And then we'll do the exact same thing, but starting photo filter, enabling photo filter, and then lastly, starting the web client and enabling the web client. We will check the status of this. So we'll see status of web client, and it looks like it's running. If we do that with the other two, we should see that photo storage is running, as well as photo filter. That's all of our setup for the Node.js application. In the next video, we are going to set up a new virtual host in our Nginx configurations for photos.example.com, and that's going to reverse proxy to this main web client application.